Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to call our work session, our February 17th work session to order. Looks like we have our first item is the bell change for the 26-27 school year for Green Elementary School only. So welcome to Mr. Carrozza, Mr. McCabe, and Principal Blake. Thank you, and we'll turn over to you all.
Excellent. Thank you. And we're also joined by Jason Tompkins, the Senior Director for Transportation, and Joy Milan, the Director of Central Operations, Logistics, and Systems.
Welcome and Aggie pride to you, my fellow Aggie, and welcome to the district.
All right. So wait for this to be pulled up.
Yeah, Chris is
Started. All right. So in 2019, Green Magnet Elementary had a bell schedule change approved. It was originally running from 9:15 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. Based on feedback from staff and families, they had agreed to push that dismissal time back to 4 o'clock. Staff is here today to propose to move the dismissal time back to 3:45 p.m. The recommendation today falls within the strategic alignment for Priority 3, Operational Effectiveness, Goal 7, Employee Experience, and AIM 19. So some background information. Again, 2019 was the bell schedule change. From 2022 to present, we had a principal transition. Principal Blake took over. The overall proficiency increased by 20 percentage points. The school has met or exceeded growth expectations. Green is no longer classified as a recurring low-performing school, and instructional systems were implemented to balance academic rigor with social and emotional supports. So going through that, staff looked at ways to make a recommendation to bring that bell schedule change back to 3:45, and doing so, they made sure that they didn't impact the instructional component of what they were doing on a day-to-day basis. So, of course, we did some public engagement. We ran a thought exchange for 2 weeks. It was actually 3 Sundays. And we heard from many families. We're going to share that feedback with you today. But just to kind of outline the summary of what we got back from families, many expressed support for the early dismissal, noting benefits for after-school activities and family time, concerns about instructional time, minimizing transitions. Despite only a 15-minute earlier dismissal, there were some concerns about the impact on working parents with that early dismissal time. Suggestions to align specials and world language classes to reduce transition times were evident, and the change is seen as potentially beneficial for student focus and behavior, amongst others. So looking at all the participants, okay. So we had 70 participants in all. And I know we put a lot on this slide, but I wanted to capture each of the different groups so you can see the feedback from each group. So all of the participants at the top, the middle section is parent and guardians only, and then the bottom section is just the staff information only. So just in general, the participants, there were 70, which generated 60 thoughts. They were rated 687 times with roughly an 11 ratings per thought. And then you see the numbers there for parents and guardians, 34 participants for parent and guardian, and then 36 for staff. And as you can see, we outline the different themes that are captured from this feedback collection. Student focus obviously being the highest one, as well as world language classes. This is a magnet program that offers world languages, so you see a lot of families interested in making sure that that will not be impacted as part of this change. And then amongst others, rated in the 4 or higher. Generally 4 is an area where you're going to see a lot of alignment amongst participants. The other areas were after-school activities, collaborative planning, instructional time, recess and lunch, student engagement, and transition time. So you can see these different themes that were offered up for families. But again, a lot of alignment in the sense of and not feeling like this was going to be an impact on the instructional time, which again was the most important to families and staff. So here's the parent and guardian feedback. I captured the 4 highest rated thoughts as part of the thought exchange. Again, talking about impact on world language classes, after school, being able to participate in activities after school, and then people looking forward to an earlier dismissal time. And just a food for thought, Green Elementary is the only elementary that has the extended day release. So then looking at the staff feedback, the highest rated thoughts, again, talking about student stamina, dismissal routines, keeping specials, being intentional about high quality instruction. And then again, support recruitment and retention, again, because when you have teachers who are teaching a longer day than other schools, that could become troublesome for the principal to hire additional staff over time. So what does the proposed schedule alignment look like? So we're looking at minimized transitions. It protects uninterrupted core instruction. Again, we're not impacting instruction for students as part of this dismissal change. Pairs lunch and recess and specials in world language. Maintains the magnet language programming, and meets the district recommendations for the core instructional time. So with that, staff's recommendation is to reduce the dismissal time from 4 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. in essence for the 2026-2027 instructional calendar year. Green would be proposed to be on a bell schedule from 9:15 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. And with that, we'll open it up for any questions.
Well, thank you for this presentation and for the work that went into this, and great to see that we are making some growth at Green, and so that's always exciting. I saw Dr. Ng's hand, so Dr. Ng, I'll turn over to you for a question or comment.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Can any one of you elaborate on exactly how pairing the lunch recess and the specials and world language can make it more efficient?
Yes, we were just focused on minimizing the amount of transitions that we were eating time away with, and so by pairing them together, we can minimize multiple transitions throughout our day. So our teachers are not transitioning our students from specials to world language. Those teachers are doing that, and so then they're working in tandem, and based on the place as to where they're listed in the building, it will strip some of that transition time versus leaving the classroom to go to specials, going back to the classroom, leaving the classroom, going back to world language. So we were just trying to be intentional with minimizing and taking away minutes in that realm.
Any other questions or comments?
I do, Mr. Chair Swanson.
Yes, absolutely, Ms. Rice.
Thank you so very much. As I was listening to your presentation, and as Mr. Carosa indicated that this is the only school that has this particular time, is there any particular reason why we want to discuss why the school changed its timing to begin with? And then what were your gains with changing the time, moving it outside of where most schools already end at 3:45? Are there any pros to that?
So I'll let you talk about the academic piece, but a lot of what this change entailed was dealing with, we had transportation concerns at the time in 2019. Shortage of bus drivers, obviously. There were late pickups happening, and so in a way to try to just make sure that we were making better use of the time for the students, we extended the school day to 3:45 at that point. Joy, I don't know if you remember anything about the routing at that point, but generally that's what we were looking at, was just trying to make it easier for the transportation department to get to the students within the time periods that we allow for them to be after school. So that would generally it. For the academic piece, I'll let the principal speak.
Yeah, so to piggyback off of that, we just wanted to be good stewards of the time, and so since we had that extra time, at that point, Green was not, it was a low-performing school, so we just redirected some of our focus to create some really tight systems for teaching and learning so that we could build this momentum to get to this point where we feel like we can continue on that same level of trajectory without the additional 15 minutes. I know that that was something that the staff was definitely interested in doing when I transitioned over to Green, but we were not yet ready, and I did not feel comfortable bringing this proposal to the board until I could be confident that we would be ready to sustain what we've already put in place.
And as we mentioned earlier, we didn't impact instructional time as part of this change. They just looked at other ways to shave off the 15 minutes in order to make it accessible for both staff and families.
Follow-up, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. So are we looking at any other schools being able to propose this type of change, to change a bell schedule in the future? Are we looking at Green trying to return back to this in the future, or will we be able to maintain this schedule moving forward with all of our schools? Because hearing this now and bringing it before the board and changing the schedule, it just, it makes me wonder, will any other schools be able to propose this type of change and flip-flop, or will we be able to maintain keeping all of our schools at the latest time of being in school is 3:45? I'm just curious about that in particular, and how long Green has been doing this in particular. And I'm for the schedule going back to where it can align with the district as a whole, and for families, I'm just concerned about this particular transition and wondering, is this opening the doors for other people to bring proposals to do the same?
Yeah, Ms. Rice, Chris McCabe, thanks for the question. A few little pieces that you had in there built into your question. So Green switched to this 4 o'clock dismissal time in 2019. I think that was part of your question, how long have they been doing it? At that time, one of the restart flexibilities that Wake County was approving was some bell schedule or calendar adjustments. We no longer allow that flexibility in our restart schools across the district. So to your question, could another school using restart flexibility extend their bell schedule like Green had previously done? The answer to that is no, we don't do that anymore. So bringing Green back to the 3:45 dismissal in alignment with all the others, they were grandfathered in, but we no longer feel like they need to be.
Thank you. I was wondering about that particular piece, as I recall, in the restart process at one point. Thank you so much. That's all, Chair. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, hearing none. Thank you, and Mr. Carosa, when will this come before the board for the full vote?
Yeah, so this will be part of the presentation that Transportation will bring as the annual bell schedule changes, so we won't bring this at the next board meeting for approval. You'll just approve it as sweeping changes for the entire district.
Great, well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
All right, so the next item on our work session is the Cohort 3, 4, and 5 Restart Information and Restart Overview. And that presentation, looks like we will hear from Dr. Robinson, Area Superintendent Overman, and looks like Area Superintendent McCabe will be staying with us for this presentation. So I'll turn it over to you all. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Swanson, Vice Chair, esteemed board member, Superintendent Taylor. Since 2016, Wake County has been a statewide leader in implementing the Restart model as a strategic lever to accelerate improvement in schools identified as recurring low performing. During today's update, we will share information of how Restart schools align with our strategic plan. We will share the results of the state continued authorization review for cohorts 3, 4, and 5. And you will also receive information for schools eligible for Restart in the 26-27 school year. The data you will receive demonstrates meaningful gains, including schools exiting low-performing status, but it will also show areas where we must intensify support and strengthen implementation. With that said, our approach remains clear: strategic flexibility, focused accountability, and accelerated achievement. At this time, Area Superintendents James Overman and Mr. Chris McCabe will walk us through the overview and the update for this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Thank you all for allowing us to be here today to share some information. As Dr. Robinson discussed earlier, today our intent is to look at an overview of Restart Schools within the district and some information about Restart Schools as a whole from the state. We will also look at sharing information about cohorts 3, 4, and 5, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means to be in a cohort, and then even why those cohorts are grouped together this year. And then we will identify newly eligible Restart Schools and next steps. So we're going to start with a Restart overview. And so, as Dr. Robinson stated, this started a long time ago, 2016, but it originally gained ground in 2010 as a part of a law that was passed by the General Assembly to reform continually low-performing schools. And so out of that, in 2016, they began looking at the Restart model. And so the goals at that particular time were to remove barriers that may be interfering with the educational process, utilize charter-like flexibilities to address school and student needs, and model innovative instructional practices, and then leverage flexibilities to increase student achievement. So schools became eligible by being recurring low-performing, which means that a school has been low-performing 2 out of the last 3 years. And so that has been continued over the years with the Restart model. You click that on for me. Thank you. So in terms of Restart in Wake County, we were a part of the process in the beginning. We consider ourselves to be pioneers with the 2 schools that started with the Restart model. Those were Barwell Road Elementary School and Walnut Creek Elementary School back in 2016. And so currently today we have, of course, 203 schools. 40 schools are utilizing the Restart model within the district in this particular school year. 2 new schools are eligible for Restart in 26-27, and 3 additional schools remain eligible from last year. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the presentation. And again, just a reminder, the purpose of Restart Schools in Wake County is to increase student achievement is the main goal and the main focus. So of course, everything that we do within the district, we want to be sure that it's aligned with our strategic plan. And so this gives you the detailed information of how the Restart model is aligned with the strategic plan. There are aims and things that have been identified within this process. So I'm not going to read each one to you, but you can tell that it's definitely aligned with the strategic plan. So one of the things that we've been able to do is to utilize different flexibilities that are more charter-like within the district. And so some of the examples that you're probably familiar with are budget flexibility, where our schools are able to utilize some of the salaries to provide additional learning opportunities. We have schools that create additional coaching positions so that they can provide job-embedded professional development. And then we have also sometimes supplemental curriculum resources and assessment tools. We lock in on our particular curriculum tools within the district, but if there's anything that we need to supplement those things, then we utilize that as a resource. We also utilize human resource flexibility. Schools are allowed to convert positions, including teacher assistants, to address achievement and staffing needs. They also have the flexibility to hire and place teachers outside of their required certification areas when appropriate. And so there are times when this is appropriate. A lot of schools will do this for what we call specials. So if you have a person that's been a professional artist within the community and you have an art vacancy within your school that you've not been able to fill, then you are allowed to look at that particular person as a candidate to fill that position. We also look at human resource flexibilities to provide additional compensation in some cases, in addition to that of the state salary to recruit, retain, high-quality staff members. And so those are some flexibilities that you're probably more familiar with. This graph that is on the slide here that is presented, this is information that has been provided to us from DPI. And so often when we do this presentation, we get questions about what are the most impactful flexibilities, or what are other schools across the district doing? And so this slide identifies flexibilities being utilized by schools exceeding expectations across the state. And so it kind of summarizes it for you. As a part of those schools, we are proud to say that the schools on the right side, Barwell Road Elementary, Beaver Dam, Forestville Road Elementary, Green Elementary, Lockhart Elementary, Powell Elementary, and Wakelawn Elementary contributed to this data and are also exceeding expected for academic gains. So DPI has thanked us for their contribution to this information as well. So the next slide talks about, it breaks down the 40 Restart schools that we have within our district and how they performed this past school year for 24-25. So of those 40 schools, 9 Restart schools exited low performing status, and you can see the names of those schools there. We had 2 Restart schools that exited recurring low performing status, and that means they were able to stay free of being low performing over that 2-year period to not fall into that cycle. 3 previously eligible Restart schools exited recurring low performing status. And so if you'll recall, a few years ago, we talked about how we would recommend or not recommend certain schools to move forward with a Restart application. And so we looked at some different resources and things that we could utilize for those schools. And we are proud to say that for those 3 schools, they exited recurring low-performing status based on the structures and supports that we were able to provide outside of submitting a Restart application. And then that last group is 5 Restart schools that remained out of recurring low-performing status. And so that's the goal for all of our schools, to get them to this point. And so we're extremely excited about those schools and how they've modeled for other schools. Thank you. So at this time, we are proud to bring forward, Mr. McCabe is going to introduce the 2 principals that we have with us today. It is important to note that all of our Restart principals are working extremely hard. Today, we just tapped 2 to be able to share some information with you about moving out of low-performing status. So, Mr. McCabe?
Can you just remind them about last year, your presenters that we had?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks. So if you remember, last year when we brought the similar presentation to you, we brought 2 principals with us. In fact, Ms. Blake, who is just up here and has been mentioned on 2 or 3 slides here, was one of the principals that we brought to share her story and her success at a Restart school. And then we also brought Margaret Feldman at Dillard Drive Middle School with us. And so, like Mr. Overman said, we're pretty proud of the work that's happening across Restart schools in our district, and so we wanted to tap some additional leaders to give them the opportunity to share their success that they're having in some of our Restart schools. And so we're proud to have with us Mr. Aldridge at Millbrook Elementary, and Mr. Warren at Timber Drive Elementary School. You'll see a snapshot of their school and some data and some demographics about their school on the screen for you. But at this point, I'll turn it over to Mr. Warren, principal at Timber Drive, to share with you a little bit about his story, and then Mr. Aldridge will follow him.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Dr. Robinson, Mr. McCabe, Mr. Overman, and the board for allowing me to come and just share a little bit of the great work that's happening over at Timber Drive over in Garner. I'm from Garner and graduated from there, so I like to give a shout out every time I get a chance. So go Trojans and Titans, but Trojans. So yeah, the Restart, when I got to Timber a few years ago, really the goal was to have high-quality instruction for all students every day. And looking at how we can do that and looking at what the students deserve, what our community deserves, and how we can make changes school-wide to increase the student achievement. And what we looked at is we looked at lots of data, the existing data from before my arrival, and feedback from the staff, feedback from the community, and really looked at how can we leverage the Restart flexibilities to meet those goals and our ultimate goal of exiting that low performing status and meeting the student achievement, meeting or exceeding growth. So one of the things we looked at was more people isn't always the best, but it's how you strategically use those human resources that you have. So taking a look at the instruction, taking a look at who is working day to day with the students, where does the rubber meet the road? And we looked at ways to be creative with conversions and using the Restart funds to increase staff, but not just increase the staff, have those staff working directly with students, both in small groups and in core instruction. And one of the ways that we did that was through bringing on more coaching positions and more coaching months so that the coaches could work alongside the teachers, providing professional development, facilitating PLCs, assisting with collaborative planning opportunities, co-teaching, and modeling high-impact strategies in the classroom. And that coaching then extends itself beyond that one person, extends itself to the classroom teachers. They have that support that's working close, that gets to know their practices and gets to know the students. And then we saw the gains from that. Teachers had access to more coaching, and those coaches also worked directly with the kids because it was important to us that everyone in the building is working directly with students. Another Restart flexibility, we were able to use some of those funds for track out tutoring. So we are a track 4 single track year-round school, and we know that it's important for our students to continue and to have access to learning opportunities even over those track outs. Especially the winter one that was long. This one was super long. But those opportunities, what we were able to do was use those stipends, use some of the Restart funds to pay certified teachers to teach and tutor strategically identified students over the track out. And that was on campus, and they still received transportation through the district. They still received lunch, breakfast. It was a full day program. And we were able to strategically identify and invite students to that opportunity and continue some of that learning over the track outs. We're also, one of the things that will be mentioned on the next slide is we're also an opportunity culture school, which you may learn more about. But that is a model that we're aligning with where we have multi-classroom leaders, and that's another form of instructional support both for students and staff, where a staff member works closely with teachers and students to coach, enhance the instruction, partner, model, and to improve outcomes for all. So those were a few of the things that very, very proud to talk about that are happening at Timber Drive as a direct result of the flexibilities allowed by the Restart model. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Aldridge.
And I'll just, again, share the gratitude Principal Warren shared. Thank you for allowing us to come and speak about Restart Schools. I'll mention Principal Blake again, who thinks I need to update my headshot. I guess I don't have enough gray in that picture for it to be realistic. But I've been around Restart Schools for a while. I was an assistant principal at Carroll Middle School for 5 years, and this is sixth year at Millbrook Elementary, and definitely have seen some changes in the way the district operates Restart. And I'm really happy with where we are right now with the systems and structures in place. You'll hear a lot of the same things I'll share as Principal Warren shared. One of the primary ways we use Restart flexibility is through conversions. We realized that we were not going to intervene our way out of being what's on there a D. We're actually an F the year before that. We weren't going to intervene our way out of that. We needed to improve core instruction. And at a school with a high staff turnover rate, coaching became a really important element that we needed to consider. And so we've used conversions to support teachers in a number of ways. We have a second assistant principal, and then we have 3 instructional coaches. Each of those coaches works with 2 grade levels, so they're able to provide a lot of high quality, regular time coaching teachers, facilitating PLCs, getting to know the students and what they actually need, and supporting teachers in meeting those needs. So those conversion flexibilities have been really important for us. Similarly, we've looked at some tutoring opportunities through Restart funds. A couple of years ago, we did some varsity tutoring, which is like an online program, and then last year, we had our own teachers providing that tutoring support. We looked at, it was primarily through math, we looked at STAR data for that group of students experiencing the tutoring versus all the other students in the school, and that group was outperforming every other group on that one benchmark assessment. So there was some evidence, pretty strong evidence really to support that the tutoring was working, and we're continuing that this year. Principal Warren mentioned opportunity culture. That's something we're going to be exploring next year. We haven't done it yet, but similar use of flexibility for us at Millbrook. So I think that's just one of the things I want to kind of end with on my part is the great thing about Restart is it allows unique schools to find unique solutions to unique problems. It allows for innovation, it allows for creativity, it avoids kind of a one-size-fits-all approach, and I think that's essential in a district this size. We're going to have differences across schools, and so allowing the school and the principal and the area superintendents to navigate situations and use funds and resources in a way that fits the unique needs of the school is really important, and so we appreciate that continuation.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge and Mr. Warren. It's always good to bring our school leaders before you and for you to hear directly from them on the work they're doing in our schools. You'll note a lot of the things that both of them said align with what you probably hear Dr. Taylor say often about the impact of collective efficacy, right? How that is the highest yield strategy that we have. And when we are building up coaches to build up other PLC leaders, and as Mr. Warren said, that spills out throughout the building, that's how collective efficacy works. And so they're really leveraging a high leverage strategy there. And I'll end, before I turn it back over to Mr. Overman to continue the presentation, end with just a very public congratulations to both of them for working hard to move their schools out of low-performing status.
Thank you, and thank you, principals, thank you. So the next portion of our presentation is centered on the Restart continued authorization process. And as I stated, this year we have 11 schools, and we're looking at cohorts 3, 4, and 5. Well, if you'll remember, Barwell and Walnut Creek were cohort 1, and then we had a group of schools that were cohort 2, and then that other thing happened that we don't talk about, which was COVID, and caused a shuffle and had to create different cohorts and combine different cohorts. So after this year, we'll be back to a single cohort of schools that we're reviewing each year. But for this year, we are focused on cohorts 3, 4, and 5. So the purpose of the continued authorization process is to grant at the end of your 5-year period to determine whether or not you're authorized to continue using Restart as a structural model. And so the review requires multiple steps over a 2-year process. So they're having to do reports. They participate in different meetings with DPI as well as the district. And then all of that information is submitted to DPI. And so there are 3 possible outcomes by policy with the authorization process. One is you can be granted continued authorization based on the work and stuff that you've done and a model that I'll show you in a minute in terms of their workflow. You can reapply in order to continue if you don't meet that criteria, and then you can submit an application to exit if that's where you feel you are and that is a need for the district. So this is the structure that I was talking about. This is what DPI utilizes to identify continued authorization. So they take each school through each one of these categories, and it's a flow. If this, then that. And they go through, and then they determine at the end whether or not the school has met the continued authorization. So what's going to be really interesting about this list that I'm showing you now is there are 11 schools, and out of the 11 schools, 9 of our schools met the academic gain needed for continued authorization. So then you look and you see Timber Drive is on that list. And so the same thing, when I received the list, I called DPI immediately. What, you made a mistake, there's a typo, something's wrong. Well, lo and behold, in October, the policy was updated, and so it used to be that you had to show the amount of academic gain for 1 year during that 5-year period. October of 2025, they revised that policy to say that you have to meet that academic gain number 2 times within that 5-year period. And so what happened was he moved out of low-performing status, but it only counts for him as 1 time during that 5-year cycle period. So I shared my thoughts on that process, but I wanted to be sure that you understand why he was on that list. So again, out of our 11 schools, 9 of those schools met the academic gain needed for continued authorization. So the 2 schools that did not meet that particular standard, Riverbend Middle School and Timber Drive, as a result of that, they have 2 options, as we've talked about. We can reapply in order to continue, which is what we would want to recommend for them, and then, or you could submit an application to exit. And so as a part of what we've done with schools that fall short of that mark is comprehensive support plans are created or revised and updated to meet each school's needs. There's a comprehensive and in-depth focus plan designed with area superintendents, academics, executive leadership coaches, et cetera, for those schools. They talked a little bit about the opportunity culture, and you'll learn more about the opportunity culture, but it is a form of coaching that takes place within the building, but it has to be by qualified people that have already demonstrated that they're blue in terms of their growth. And so we also look at different academic supports, additional training. Last year, we took the 2 schools to Harvard over the summer to do some work. We're proud to say that those 2 schools both moved out of low-performing status as a result of that work. And more instructional focus within the district and an instructional framework would also be included in that information. So that was about the authorization process. Now the next portion is the restart applications for 26-27, or the schools that are eligible for a restart application in 26-27. And so again, I'm not going to reiterate all of that information to you, but this is information that you saw on the slide in terms of where the schools are and what it is that they're doing. The actual schools that are eligible for restart applications for 26-27, the 2 new schools are Knightdale Elementary and Zebulon Middle School. And so those 2 are newly eligible. We had 3 schools that were eligible last year that remained eligible for this year as well, and those are the schools that are shaded in blue, that are Brentwood, Wake Forest Middle, Wildwood Forest Elementary. And then, as we stated earlier, the 3 schools that were previously eligible and no longer low performing are listed there as well. So those are the schools that we provided other resources to and other supports, and we're able to move them out. So it's important for you to know, I'm sorry if you go back, before we leave that slide, the area in the pink is the criteria that the area superintendents review. So for instance, the 2 new schools that are on this list are Knightdale Elementary and Zebulon Middle. So what would happen is the area superintendent would look at this criteria and see, to make a determination in terms of a recommendation to working with academics, working with the chiefs, and working with Dr. Taylor to determine whether or not we would recommend if an application should go forward or not. So in conclusion, in terms of restart schools and the restart model, 1, we talked about it being aligned with the strategic plan. We talked about the 40 schools that are utilizing the model in 25-26. We've shown you that Restart is making a positive impact with schools. We talked about 9 of the 11 cohort 3, 4, and 5 schools met the academic gain target, and we've talked about the things that we would like to see in terms of support with the schools that did not, the 2 schools that did not. We've talked about the criteria and everything else, and so as a part of next steps, we would look forward to continuing the Restart model with the authorized 9 cohort 3, 4, and 5 schools. We would like to have support to reapply for the 2 schools that did not meet the target, and then we will continue to consider new applications, supports, and even future exits in the future. So we shared a lot with you today. Some of it you may have been familiar with and some not, but we want to give you the opportunity at this time to ask us any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you for diving into this, and thank you for the work that you all are doing to moving your schools and moving the needle forward onto this, and to the support that you all are giving as area superintendents to support the great work and the growth that's taking place. And so I will look around and see if there's any questions or comments. We'll start with Ms. Edmonds, and then Mr. Hegarty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple questions and a comment. So can you tell us, both of our principals that are here, just a rough number of the additional resources that you get as far as like, is it 50 grand, 100, like what are we talking about? I have no concept, so.
They probably are not able to share that particular number with you.
Okay.
What we do is try to build a plan for each school based on where they are. And so we look at all of their resources that they have in addition to Restart, Title I, et cetera. Sometimes there's other conversions that they look at, but we try to build the whole plan based on the school needs, and then that becomes a part of their school improvement plan overall.
So it's not really, is it not additional resources? It's more of a
It
realignment?
is. It's definitely additional resources, yes.
Okay, so is there any kind of number you can share with me, even if
Sure.
it's not per school?
Yes. So overall, this past year, and this has fluctuated, at one point it was $1 million, $8 million. It's been reduced down to, I think this year it was $5.2 million is what it was.
Okay.
And then what we do is we do a per pupil allocation based on those schools within that area.
And Ms. Edmonds, so I'll add, so the number that is in the budget to support Restart Schools, right, we allocate that out based on needs in conversations with our 40 Restart Schools. And the, I just lost my thought, what was I?
You were saying based on the need.
Yeah, based on the need per school. And so it's not necessarily an even distribution.
Sure.
Right? It's again, it's based on need and conversation as the principal's creating a plan in collaboration with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know last year's budget, we did add $1 million to Restart Schools. I think it was from $5 million back to $6 million, what it has been in previous years, to continue that support. So that was something I just wanted to add to that from last year's budget.
Thank you. And may I?
Sure.
Thank you so much. The reason I'm asking is because the things that you mentioned that the Restart funds allow you to do, coaching, co-teaching, tutoring, including track-out tutoring with school meals, instructional support, those are things that would help all schools. And I'm glad that you have these funds and resources. You need them. They clearly get results. But it's infuriating, and this is my comment, that the state is not providing more resources for our public schools across the board for these kinds of extra supports for students that need, and educators that need the extra support. And I've asked about a number because I looked at my voucher sheet, and just as an example, Wake Christian Academy got $3.4 million in 24-25. That's state money. And North Raleigh Christian Academy got $4.3 million. So just those two schools, what is that, back of the napkin math, like $8 million just for those two private schools that are within Wake County, state money. And again, I think these things that you mentioned could support, all schools, whether low performing or not. So thank you, Chair, for letting me make that comment.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Mr. Hegarty, followed by Mr. Hegarty, Ms. Caulfield, and then Ms. Rice.
Thank you, Chair Swanson. So thank you all for coming and for this presentation. I do want to give credit where credit is due. I want to note the accomplishments of Principal Eric Taylor at Briar Creek Elementary. I know he's worked very hard on this, and I'm really proud to see those results there, as well as all of our schools and the performance that they've put in. I'm going to piggyback on some of the questioning that Ms. Edmonds had, but I want to bring it up in another light. One of the things that makes this work possible, I guess there's two principal areas. There's the flexibility that you get, and there are then the additional resources. And as we were putting together our budget last year, one of the things that we were very challenged on was, would we have sufficient funding for our Restart, to continue funding our Restart program at a level similar to the year before. And as we looked at reductions of funding, that was one of the options on the table that the superintendent had to consider. And so as we put together our board budget and brought that to our county commissioners, there was a recommendation by the county manager to come in at a number lower than the board's budget, which would have resulted in a larger cut to these valuable programs. But the Board of Commissioners, by a contested vote, but by a strong vote, voted to fund our board budget at the level of $40.3 million as an increase in public school funding, and that made continued funding of this program at this year's levels possible. And the reason I bring that up is that when we're giving credit where credit is due, I want to make sure everyone in the county can see this presentation, because what you've been able to show through your hard work and the gains that you've made here is the investment, or the returns on their investment. And specifically, what we have here is all of the hard work by administrators like yourselves, by our staff, by our certified teachers in these schools, has led a number of these schools to be able to exit that low-performing status or be eligible to leave that status. You have a direct connection between the public investment made into this program and then the return on the investment, these wonderful results that you're bringing forward. So we have a program that works, and going forward in a budget year that's going to be challenging, to Ms. Edmonds' point, we need to know how much this program will cost to continue. But in addition to knowing the cost, you bringing us these results help us to go back and justify why those funds are so very vital and why we need that continued funding. So thank you all.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Haggerty, I'll also add to the comments that you're making about the budget piece, and we do recognize that the restart flexibility is something that's very important. It is part of what we will consider in the budget as we begin to put numbers together. I kind of wanted to save comments to the end, but I'll just kind of share this now. What we know about the Restart program is the continuous improvement of how we use this program as a district. And what I can tell you is that from that initial time up until now, we've become a heck of a lot better in terms of efficiency and how we use it. I do want to applaud the area superintendents, because when they had to look at what that funding was, they had to work extremely hard to make sure we were as efficient as we could be, because there was the potential of those cuts. And so we do want to make sure that that is a part of what we examine this year when we do our budget. I'll end with I do hope that our General Assembly recognizes the value of flexibility. And what we want to stress is that it's not about a school being in academic trouble before they have the ability to be considered a restart school. That's something that we know is valuable for all schools. So we appreciate those comments about the budget piece, and that is something that will have to continue to be a high priority.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Ms. Caulfield?
Thank you, and thank you very much for the presentation. And I think, Dr. Taylor, you just took it out of my words out of my mouth about the valuable aspect of them understanding how the flexibility really changes things. Beaver Dam Elementary School was one of the successes in my district. I believe it was last year, but time could be flying, and it could be 2 years. But they went from an F to a D, which is a very, very, it's a big jump when you're a failing school and you go to a D versus you're a B and you go to an A. So it's a lot of work that was done there in pretty much 2 years or less. So, I mean, that was great. So it does absolutely show that it is helping. I do have a question in reference to the funding, and I know you can't give a specific because it varies between schools, but if you were to have one school, what would be a range of what it would cost? It just, overall, because
So I don't have that number with me right in front of me, but I can say that the per pupil allocation that we look at when we divvy it up is about $190 per student is what we try to do. So that's kind of our focus, and that shifts depending on, what's cut or what changes. So that's where we try to land.
Per year?
Well, each year it depends on the total amount of money that's provided, but yes.
Okay. All right. So my next question, I do think that it's really important for the General Assembly to see information like this and see how valuable it is. Because I think in Beaver Dam, when we sat down and talked about it, one of the biggest things was having more adults in the room. Having those instructional assistants, having the coaches, working with the families to get more of an impact directly with that one specific student. And I like what you said about unique problems, unique solutions and unique problems, because it is true. That's exactly what they're doing, is you kind of zoning in on that. So it's important for our General Assembly. I was going to ask about our legislative agenda, if we could put something on there about that, because I think it's important for them to know that. My last question is, we have a growing number in restart status. Did I hear you say that they changed the eligibility requirements?
So no, that was just for the reauthorization process. So,
Okay, just the authorization.
Yeah, so what we did was to look at, initially, like when we started with the 2 schools, anytime a school became eligible, we submitted an application. But then we started to see that some schools kind of come into low performing status and move out. And so what we wanted to do was to be a little more strategic and say, hey, if we can look at these 3 schools a little bit differently, provide some additional resources prior to submitting the application, then it may be that they don't need to be full-fledged restart schools. And so that's where we were talking about like a Briar Creek, a Vandora Springs Elementary School, similar to that. So good question. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes, I'm sorry if I misspoke. In my head, I knew they went from an F to a C. Yes, Beaver Dam. I want to make sure I am giving them the kudos where it's well-deserved. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Rice, and then Dr. Job.
Thank you so much, Chair Swanson. Dr. Taylor stole my word before I got a chance to speak, and the first thing I want to do is to applaud our area superintendents while Mr. Overman is actually right here representing as area superintendents. I see your name and your region here with quite a few schools that's come out and have met those expectations, and so I did want to give kudos to our area superintendents, our principals, our staff, and most importantly, the students who were compliant and did the work and followed through what was necessary by the leadership of all those aforementioned. Like Ms. Edmonds, I will agree in reference to money with legislator, but I would like to just make a brief comment around reimagining what education could actually look like if students were funded at a proficient level coming into school. And so while we're looking at and we were sharing about money that is necessary that could go into these restart schools, I really would like to look at, or for us to examine, that the majority of the schools that are on our list of its 40 are elementary schools. Elementary school is important for us to look, if we can look at it as a board right now, because children that come into elementary school, where was the last place they were? Home. 0 to 5. What changes the game for everything is the work that we put into our early childhood programming for families that may be in the assignment range that come into those schools, and recruiting that aligns with the laws that we have about making sure that we find students that may be at risk prior to in the 0 to 5 range. And so for me, while this money shows what we have done well with remediation is what we have done. We have proven that we know how to remediate students well, but reimagine our district looking and spending this level of money to students who are proficient. And all I'm saying is, let's, as a board, if we could just reshift a piece of focus around how do we prevent the restart process from even happening. Since we're at an elementary school level with the majority of the 40 of our students, what would it look like if we put deeper efforts into helping these children before they get here? So that the money that we're using goes into a different process. So I'm only asking for us to shift a little bit and look at some root causes of why we're here at the restart process, and how could we as a board, since Ms. Cofield mentioned legislative pieces, some of the things that we could definitely say is looking at that, or shifting some focus of really asking for the legislators to do universal pre-K or whatever we could do in a way that directly affects our children. And so I just wanted to say thank you to the staff that has done all that they could do. I just want to send out a cry to parents to please invest in your children prior to bringing them into the district, and then continue to invest in them when they get in the district. Because if we collaborate with parents and train them on the some of the art of teaching as the student's first teacher, I think that we'll be able to see our district funding look a little bit differently. So I'm sorry, it wasn't necessarily a question, but a comment with just having us to look at root causes and then reimagining what we could look like as we have to, pour this money into our restart models, but reimagining what it looks like in our early childhood learning.
Thank you. Dr. Jobe?
Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And I very much appreciate what you all are doing with these students and these schools. I think I appreciate what my colleagues have said too. I think we can all stipulate we need more money and we need more resources in all schools, and these are great things to be doing for all students. But considering the current climate and the current legislature we're dealing with and the current situation, my question is really to what do you do to support, if you could expand on it, because you talked about it a little bit, but if you could expand on what you do to support schools as they exit, to make sure they don't become restart schools again, especially if it's something like you were saying that Mr. Eldridge, that tutoring is one of, which is wonderful, but I think that would probably be one of the resources that would get defunded if once they're no longer exit school, or no longer restart schools rather. So what do we do to make sure that those gains persist even without the resources there?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. We have not exited any schools yet out of the restart process, so that have been named. We do have schools that we are closely monitoring that we feel like are now close to being ready. I think one of the things that's really important to us is that those structures are in place, that they've been able to build with the flexibilities, and that they're able to continue that academic gain each year. And so we are proud to say that now we do have some schools that we're going to take a look at, develop criteria, and to determine if they're ready to be exited. So, but it is really important for those schools to sustain those structures and to be able to continue to move forward with that academic gain.
Can you give some examples of what you mean by those structures?
Sure. So if there are coaching structures, then the number of coaches, if they do not have restart funding anymore, may look different, but that structure still needs to be there, right? You're going to gain new teachers every year, and you need to be sure, I think as Mr. Warren talked about earlier, that you're getting a high level of quality instruction on a daily basis. And so when you can build in an instructional coach or an MCL from Opportunity Culture, then that just ensures that you have someone ready when those new folks come on board, or if you have someone that's not doing as well, to address that immediately, as opposed to going 2 or 3 years and working through a different process.
Dr. Jobe, I'd like to add a few more comments to that. And one of the things that we talked about is the flexibility that comes along with Restart, and that if you exit the program, then you actually lose your ability to have that flexibility. Mm-hmm. And so right now, the state doesn't have a timeline, if you will, in terms of exiting the Restart program. You can be there as long as you're doing the work. Now, what they can do is determine that a school is not making adequate progress, and they can exit you from the Restart program. And so That's, I think, one of the reasons that we haven't done so is if that school continues to show progress, we know that a great part of that is because of the flexibility that they have, and that if you exit, then it's something that you lose. So at this point, as long as we're meeting those mandates and the state recertifies, and we'll continue that. But that's one thing that we do have to consider. If we exit, what would that support look like?
Dr. Ing or Vice Chair Hershey, do either of you all have comments? Okay. Well, I just want to echo what's been said, and I did check our legislative agenda, and it's still on there for restart like flexibility, so we can always keep that on there, so therefore we can see, the General Assembly can see the importance of that, and I just think it's important, you know, when you have strong leadership in schools that can help shift the culture and get everyone to buy into the work, we can see great gains, and then having the support of district leadership. So thank you all for presenting to us.
So we just want to be clear and be sure that we have your support to move forward, not only continuing restart with the 9 schools that were authorized, but reapplying for the authorization for the other 2.
Yes, I did not hear any concerns about that, and that was going to be my wrap-up to say, making sure that we are aligned and all clear, and so it looks as if we do have the green light to move forward and appreciate the great work
Awesome.
that's happening.
Thank you guys for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. And so now, given that that is all of the items on our information, on our work session, at this point I'll entertain a motion to move into closed session to consider confidential personnel information protected under GS 143-318.11A6 and 115C-319. Also to consider confidential student information protected under GS 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, 20 U.S.C. .1232G, to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided into GS 143-318.11A3, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as guided as provided in GS 143-318.11A3 due to current litigation, the Wake County Board of Education versus Triangle Forest Products, INC, Inc., and finally to consult with the Board of to consult with the attorney employed or retained by the Board of Education to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the Board of Education and regarding PH 1 Smith Road / Sunset Lake Road public infrastructure improvement related to the Felton Grove High School site, and specifically on the property, of Triangle Forest Products, INC, and to receive board instructions as to position to be taken on behalf of the Board of Education in negotiations and pending lawsuits in the, yes.
So moved.
It's a motion that has been, a very long motion that has been properly moved by Vice Chair Hershey, seconded by Mr. Hegarty. Any discussions on the motion?
Chair Swanson, because we are in a virtual meeting, will we have to use a roll call vote for this vote as well?
That is correct.
Thank
Yes. So with that, I'll just do a roll call. We'll start with Mrs. Rice.
Yay.
All right. Dr. Jobe? Aye. Dr. Ng? Aye. Ms. Caulfield? Aye. The chair votes aye. Vice Chair Hershey?
Aye.
Mr. Hegarty?
Aye.
Ms. Edmonds?
Aye.
The motion passes. We are now in closed session, and we will return at 5:30.
facing them?
No, I'm gonna face like towards them. Water will be, yeah. Probably back some more.
Yeah, did it.
All right, so yeah, we should be able to just, ID up here. I need to go see my dad. All right, be right back. All right, cool, I will.
I want to hang around now. Yeah, come on. No, it's going to be a show.
Well, we gonna do this right.
Just matching to see somebody that put flat back
Was the stick mic not working? Mic could be not working. That's all here, so all display. How's it show? You need another power source.
I do, yes, thank you.
There's one in here. Is this going to reach?
I have a power strip in the office. I think we're good.
Yes, sir. Only thing I can think is maybe.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yes, I'm doing well. I'm hanging in here. How are y'all?
The thing is that like it's on. It's just really bad.
Okay, that's your answer.
I was getting something on that mic. You were? Yeah. It's just very.
So you are real big.
I'm a little so.
Yeah, I'm in shock. Hi, everybody. Okay, this is for Addison. I think she's more excited to wear her heels than sick today, but she's on the
Give me a quick test.
And then the family members.
They're both.
Okay, I'm gonna pick
Try the
this.
other one. Yeah, it's just real low.
1, 2, 3.
I'm not hearing anything. I can hear it. It's just really bad. All right. Let's try.
I'm trying to see where we can put it.
Honestly, like I think we might be okay just for that sound. Okay. Can you give me a little bit, Dr. Chavis?
Might have to turn it up some. All right, I hear you. All right, y'all gonna sing tonight too? Choir sing? I want to hear y'all. 4-part harmony now.
John, I have a quick question.
Yes.
We have this mic.
You'll have the microphone.
Okay, good, because one is a little, she's 5, so
Okay.
I was worried we wanted steps to it because we didn't know if she could. Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah. Are you gonna have them face the board or face this way?
What would you like? Well, I have us presenting to the board.
Okay. Board. All right. So what we'll do, we'll just have.
And she's little, so I can just pull it down.
We can just do this.
Yeah, I can put, yeah, but she's a little.
Okay.
2 littles, a 3rd grader and a kindergarten.
Let's pull it up more here so that they can. And then do we want to flip to have the chorus face the board then, or?
That's what I'm thinking. So
Look,
you
this
guys
is
will,
y'all lane.
so they'll stand here singing
Yeah.
towards the board. That way they're facing the cameras too.
Yeah, they'll face 2. Yeah. Okay.
And then, like we talked about in the email yesterday, I'm going to give the intro,
Yep.
and then when I finish, then it'll be the video.
Yep.
Okay. And then little people, and then more.
Okay.
Now, I have a picture.
Do me a quick favor. Dr. Chavis, can you give me one more test with the keys? Harrison, can you talk into this mic at the same time? I'm getting the
Don't
sound
just
from
sing.
the amp. I just want to make sure.
No, I'm just joking.
We're gonna try to get through this mic. It's a little low, so we're gonna also test if this one's working. Testing 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check.
Is that your chair too?
All right. Did it sound like it was coming through too?
Yeah.
Okay. So one way or another, we're good.
Yeah, so the audio is on left
Okay.
podium. Voices are on right podium. I got left podium maxed, and I was able to pull down right podium a little bit. Neither of them are peaking. It's
Cool.
going to be all right.
Oh, really? God, that looks like shit.
Well, it's not going to be on camera, so. Sorry?
Because people.
Oh, the warping.
Never like, and go home and know your whole thing. Yeah, so I'm like, you know what?
I don't think people are going to look.
Now, where should I put this? So we have the last graduating class,
Okay.
1968.
Yeah, I think right there, maybe just table it.
Okay.
So let's see, because like 2's going to be this way, so it'll have to be. Right. How big is the choir?
I think she said 11 people. She said 11 people.
Okay. So we can get them here to where they all get to stand. Yeah, because they're gonna be around. Like directly behind. I guess, or they're gonna sing. Yeah.
Dean Smith, Shirley Smith, UC Smith,
But yeah, Dr. J.
Jimmy Joseph,
Morris Williams, have them, you know, park around the microphone. Just whatever.
who are some of his other people? I don't know them.
Anything else that we're missing here?
Oh, okay.
You know, once it's all wrapped up, Sheriff Watson does to go to recess for 5 minutes.
You, kids go.
They clear it all up.
KD, okay, I got him. Dwight Wilkins, I know the name.
Yeah.
I think they're all in office. Right, they were in Providence or something, right? Is Monty on there? Yeah, there she is. Patricia Whittaker. The lowest one? Yes, the last one. Going up. Okay, Tina Turner. We know Sandra Oxenstreet. Faye Jackson, Herman Jones. Okay, Gloria Hunter.
Crawford Dunn, Ron Williams, Ruby Dennis,
They have reserved seats for y'all over there.
Johnny Cole.
And I have the Kente Call. I think Keisha said 11 of y'all, but I got 13 stones just to be safe. Yes, y'all want more. How's it going? Real showing up. He done got ice cold. He just too much.
Ice cold.
That is too much.
Stop it. Stop it.
Will, have you seen the Allstate commercial with the little boy dating girl and he got on a dude shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is my favorite commercial.
That is the, oh, okay, I don't think so. This might be too heavy. Because yeah, this too heavy. Well, it's on. It's a little upside. I'm scared to touch it.
Mine got destroyed with an ex-girlfriend. She took it to college. Her new boyfriend burned it.
Look, mine was an L published. We didn't have such thing. Oh, you did? I feel like it's blocking y'all. Let me see.
But
Yeah.
lost something.
I don't want to block out the Chavis.
You dropped something.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, I don't want to block this. I don't want to block y'all. It's okay. It's okay. So first, I want to say thank y'all so much for being here this evening. And once we finish and Mr. Hinton does his public comment, we have a little reception for you in our break room.